So the card that I'm working on is the Six of Wands, and it's a really interesting card. There's a lot that I've learned from just studying and pondering this card. And I just want to share a few things right now. So I want to start out with the Rider-Waite card, as I usually do. And there's a man sitting on top of a horse, and he's looking forward. He's focused on his goal, and he's been successful. So I think this is a continuation of the Five of Wands, in which you have this struggle going on. And this is kind of the guy that came out on top. So he's learned from that. He's grown. He's achieved this. And now he's in this kind of leadership position. You have these people around him who are supporting him, and they're celebrating this victory. He has a crown of laurels on his head, and that symbolizes victory because that was used by the Greek gods on Mount Olympus to celebrate whoever won and whatever competitions they had. So this is a card of success, of achievement, of leadership, of sticking to a goal and being successful. So I think this is a very good card, a very positive card, and there's nothing wrong with celebrating your success and your achievements. But I do think that there are some things to think about when it comes to that. And there are some things that are important to just ponder and to incorporate into who you are, depending on what you want to do with this success. So let's talk about those things. And the first card that I'm looking at, other than the RWS, is from the Physics Tarot. And this card I think is really interesting because it has this ball going down this slope, and it says that it's kinetic energy. And so matter that's in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. And that's true. That is something that would happen if you had some object in space and there was nothing acting on it. Unless some gravity or something like that was to act upon it, it would continue in whatever direction it's going, or whatever movement pattern that it has. And so I think that pairs up with the man on the horse being so focused and going in that direction. He seems very unstoppable. He seems like something that he seems very determined. And so I think this is a great card to represent that particular aspect of it. The next card that I want to look at is from the Steampunk Tarot. And I think this is an important card because it actually shows a man on a much more extravagant horse. The people around him, however, when you look at their expressions, they look a little bit more on the jealous side. Some of them look a bit depressed or envious of his success. Some of them look a little bit supportive, but maybe they're just going through the motions and they're not really sharing in that victory. They're not really a part of that achievement. They're just on the outside, just looking in and going along with it. And I think that's very important to think about when it comes to success and when it comes to being a leader. So we'll continue here and we'll look at the Cosmic Tarot. And on the Cosmic Tarot, you'll see that the man has the symbol for Jupiter on his shirt, which is a symbol for expansion and growth and actually success and knowledge and achievement. And I think that that's important that we think about those things, but also look at how graceful he is. I love that they made him a dancer because Jupiter has a very balanced and stable way of dealing with this expansion. And also there is that lion in the back, which represents Leo, and Leo and Jupiter are the two things that represent the Six of Wands. So the planet and the sign that represent those. So I think that with those two energies, they're working really well together in this card. But there are some drawbacks. There are some things to think about when you have those energies because it can be a bit aggressive. It can be a bit harsh. I love that they included the sun on this card because it's kind of like this man's time in the spotlight. And this is about fire energy when we're talking about the wands. So this is a very good card to I think just ponder when you're thinking about leadership and you want to incorporate some different traits and qualities in your life. And I really do love this next card. I think it represents that energy well. I love the Science Tarot because it's always spot on. And the card that they give us is Equilibrium. And equilibrium is about balance and achieving that balance and being able to maintain that balance over time. And so they put the sun there because the sun has, we know the sun is extremely powerful, but it has a very strong gravitational pull inward. And in order to counter that pull and not collapse in on itself, it needs to push back in the opposite direction. So there are two things to to consider here. There's the energy that you push out when you're in a leadership position, and then there's the energy coming back towards you. And I think that there's responsibility on both sides. There's a responsibility to lead by example and to be a good example and someone that is approachable and someone that is going to foster a good relationship with people who are supporting you. But there's also that energy coming back from the people where they do have to deal with some shadows of jealousy and envy as well. So there's growth in both directions. There is a responsibility on both sides. And I think that the Six of Wands really does give me that understanding that when that card was drawn, there was a lot of thought about this idea of leadership, and it's the idea of success. So the element that I'm going to be talking about in association with this is Ruthenium, and number 44 in the periodic table. It's a very successful element. When you think about the uses of elements on the periodic table, it's one of those elements that I think has been elevated, and I think it's on kind of a platform or a status. It's used in jewelry to give it that Peter or that kind of dark finish. If we look at The Wonderful Life with the Elements, it describes it as a celebrity since birth. And so when we first started putting our focus, our attention on this element, it did have a kind of a significant role. And one of those roles was in fountain pens. So there was a big push for different types of fountain pens back in the, all the way from the 1920s up to even present day. They're kind of a collector's item. There was one in particular called the Parker 51, was thought of as like the perfect fountain pen, like the most sought after fountain pen. And when they made this fountain pen, they put a lot of effort into all the details and all the bells and whistles on it. And it was used by, Queen Elizabeth, Dwight Eisenhower.
The electro-polished Parker Point is the smoothest you ever touched to paper. Try it tomorrow. The beautiful all-new electro-polished Parker 51, world's smoothest writing pen.
And the thing about this pen is that when they first made it, it was the tip was kind of plated in gold or other metals, but they were kind of fragile, so the tips would wear out. And what they learned is that they got a chemist to develop the tip, and he put ruthenium on the tip because it's a very stable metal, and that worked really well. So on the tips of all these Parker 51s that are used by very successful people because they were very expensive, and it was something that was used in situations where you have presidents signing documents. At the tip of that is ruthenium. So it's at the forefront of success. It's been placed in a leadership position. Back in 2001 and I think 2005, it was involved in winning the Nobel Prize for being a catalyst. And it's a very good catalyst. So a catalyst is something that speeds up a chemical reaction, or it just speeds up a reaction. And I think that as a leader, it's important to be a catalyst. So a catalyst in a reaction goes in and it takes those particles that are present in that reaction, those reactants, and it physically gets involved and puts them together. So normally those particles will just float around, and then when they hit each other, the reaction will move forward. But there's something there now you throw into this reaction that is facilitating it. It's helping to move it forward, and it's helping it in a positive way, not in a way that's causing more, chaos within the reaction, but it's doing it in a very stable manner. And I think that as a leader, that really says a lot. Leaders should be catalysts for change. They should be catalysts for moving in a positive direction in a way that doesn't cause chaos and cause a lot of corruption and cause a lot of stress and impacts our society in a very good way. And a leader should do it in a way that doesn't cause, that pushback. When I look at the science tarot and I look at the sun and how it says equilibrium there, a leader should do that. And I think that it just benefits society for that. So I encourage us all to look at the leaders that we have and to look at yourself if you're in a leadership position and to think about the qualities that you're pushing out, the image that you're pushing out. And it seems like a very common sense type of thing to think about, but When I look at some leaders today, they are the complete opposite of what the Six of Wands is trying to convey to us. They are actually on this horse. They're pushing back arrogance. They're pushing back ego. They're pushing back status and being above everyone else. Look at how high he is above all the other people. And that is just not, in my opinion, the way to go. When Ruthenium was in these pens used to sign all these peace treaties and to help push the country forward, or whatever country is being celebrating some type of success, there are two sides to that. So now that they are elevating themselves to a status, the entire world is looking at you and they're forming their own impressions, and they can either support or not support based on what you push back. And it's just a very important quality. And I love how the horse has on that green cape, representing kind of, in my opinion, the world. Being in tune and riding along with nature and the natural flow of things. I think that a great leader is someone who has served, someone who has been in a certain position and they've been there. I don't think that it's totally necessary, but I think that it does help to understand the struggles and trials of the people that surround you, and to be able to, just relate to them. And I remember, because when I was in the military, there were leaders that hadn't been in certain positions. I'm not saying they were bad leaders or anything like that, but they didn't truly understand what a lot of the people that they were leading were going through. So the way it works is, if you have a college degree, you can go into the military as an officer, and you're in charge of men that have been in the military for 20, 25 years, and you're coming in as just someone that knows very little as far as what they specifically do. You have a lot of book smarts, a lot of maybe some practical things that you can put in place, but you have to grow in that experience. And then there were some that came in and they wanted to just be the boss and do everything, and and then we ended up with a lot of issues, because there were a lot of things that they thought were practical, but that we knew were not going to work, good on paper, right? And so it's just very good to listen. It's just an energy that goes back and forth, and there's a balance there. This was just a really good card to ponder and to think about, and I'm glad that it came up during this time. And let me hear your feedback on what you think a good quality of a leader is, and what you look for, and what you do as a leader if you're in a leadership position, and so how you kind of balance that. And I'd love to hear that. So thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Will. This is Atypical Tarot. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.